But we do want to talk about this Own Your Pleasure because what is so fascinating, if people don't know, you host virtually and live, you host these classes called Own Your Pleasure.
Yes.
And they originally started off as women-only classes.
Yes.
For women to get what they deserve and what they desire, the pleasure in their life.
Yeah.
Right? And they have since evolved.
Mm-hmm.
And they are co-ed. They are men and women come to these Own Your Pleasure classes.
Yeah.
And I have to tell anybody, if you've been in Atlanta and you come to her class, you know exactly what I'm saying. It is the funniest, the most entertaining night out you will ever experience. Y'all, here's the thing about you, Karli. You are such a great sex educator, and this is not me hyping you because you my bestie. Like,
right.
This is really,
as the kids say, you glazing me.
I'm not glazing you.
I'm not glazing you. Also, I'm learning so much new slang, guys. I want to share it with y'all because y'all might not be aware. So it's called glazing. All right.
So I'm not glazing, but I have to say, like, to watch you teach these classes, it is so refreshing. I've been to quite a few, and I feel like every one of them is different. Mm-hmm. But you are educating us on sex and relationships in ways that it is so good. Yeah. It's so good.
So thank you. So Own Your Pleasure started, when I was here last, I was doing classes. A lot of them were, people would bring me into their homes. And so they would bring me in for like a Saturday night. And so I do classes, sex ed for adults. And I can do sex ed for younger people, but this is primarily for adults because most people, they've been having sex and they tell me, I don't need to take no class on sex education. When I think of sex education, I think of kids. Yeah. And I'm like, well, no, a lot of people have been having sex for a long time, but really don't know anything about the body. They don't know anything about their own pleasure. They don't know how to express their wants, needs, and desires. And so that's where I come in. And so Own Your Pleasure is, for people, not just women, but for people to take control of their sexuality, their sexual experiences, that when it's time to say that they want to have sex, they can boldly say yes, but then when they don't, they can boldly say no. So confidently say yes and boldly say no. And so that's what I focus on, is that when I want to engage in sex, I have the language, I have the tools, that my comfort is there. But then if I don't, then I can still say no and still be comfortable and still be confident, and feel no shame. Yeah. And so that's really what this is about for me. And so I have learned so much about people. And so I educate people, even when people tell me, they say, well, Karli, I don't need to come to the class. I'm not having sex. And I said, well, you don't prepare for war in times of the battle. You prepare for war in times of peace. So even if you are not having sex, you're still going to be able to learn something. So when you do make the choice, or you do decide to engage in any type of sexual activity, that you are equipped with knowledge, that you are equipped to make informed decisions about your sexual health and wellness. Yeah. And so that's what I look at.
I mean, I think the classes are so good because to see them go from women only, which I do say, when the women are just in the room by themselves, there is a deeper level of vulnerability that the women have. Yeah. They are going to share more intimate details of their life or things that are happening in their relationship. Yeah. Or even, traumatic experiences. Or they are more prone when it's just women only. But the dynamic shift that happens when men are entering the picture is, honestly, it becomes this bridge where now the sexes get to talk about things that are very male-driven. Then we have things that are very female-driven. But then there's some common ground that people really come to when they're sitting in your class.
Yeah, and so I look at this, when I look at doing my classes, and, I came to, when I started doing the classes, they were only for women. And so, women would share, right? But every time I do a women-centered class,
they always say,
Karli, the men need to come. The men need to, my man need to be here.
Yeah.
He need to hear this. And so I said, okay, well, let's see what it would look like if I opened it up for men to come. And so the very first class that I had with men there, I had a couple guys, and so they brought a different dynamic to the class. And so they were able to share things that they were experiencing. The guys always end up sharing a little more, I feel like.
They do.
They end up raising their hand. They ask the questions. And so I've learned a lot. Because most people think that men and women want completely different things when it comes to sex. And it's not true. There's a book called Magnificent Sex. And so there's these sex therapists out of Canada. They did this study. They studied hundreds of people. And so when they talked about what makes sex great, overwhelmingly, men and women say the same things. They say it's energy. They say it's connection. They say it's communication. They say when they've had the best sex of their lives, they say it's otherworldly, out of body, transcendent, soulful. So all of that language is used by both the sexes. And so when we're looking to have these experiences that when we say they're great, what makes sex great for us, it's not the act of sex. It's not the doing. It's not the penetration. It's not the oral. It's not those things. It comes down to the communication. It comes down to being seen, being heard, being able to be free, to be fully yourself.
Yeah.
And so we're not looking, it's not that we're so far off. We just have to have better ways of communicating our needs.
Yeah.
And so,
what do you think is the biggest, myth that people have around talking about sex?
Usually I get from both men and women is that if they've been in long-term partnerships, they might say, oh, my wife, she not into that. Oh, my wife, she'll never do that. Oh, my husband, oh, he not into that. And then I'll say, when we go deeper, I say, well, when did you all last have this conversation? Oh, when we first got together. Okay, well, y'all been together since Juvenile was telling y'all to back that ass up in the 90s and the 2000s. So you ain't really had a conversation in 20 years. You ain't had a conversation in 10 years. You haven't had a conversation in 5 years about your turn-ons or turn-offs.
Yeah.
And so now we haven't been able to explore what it looks like now. And so people evolve. And so just because someone wasn't into something 10 years ago, it doesn't mean that they're not into it now. It means that we need to have a new conversation. And so just like we do check-ins and performance reviews on our job, guess what? Relationships need performance reviews. Like, hey, so what's going on? I see highlighted here you're doing great in these areas. Check, check, check. And then I can see these are some areas that maybe require a little more improvement. And so we're not having those conversations. And so now we're just leaning on to who people were and what they said back in the day instead of leaning into who we are now and the evolution of our sexuality and our sexual experience.
If that blessed you, trust me, you've only scratched the surface. There's so much more wisdom, truth, and transformation waiting in the full conversation. Click the link in the caption below to watch the entire interview, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss an episode of Vault Empowers Talks.